Pastor was preaching multiple times. The room was full. Providence was backed up, and we really were out of seats.
I remember as we're approaching Easter, we have record attendance week after week after week, and the problem was we're out of space.
John Butler was a local pastor who had been attending Elevation, and he came over to meet with me one day, and he goes, "Well, preacher, you're out of seats."
I came to talk with Pastor Steven and said, "You're out of room."
And I was like, "Yeah, sure are." Because it'd taken us a long time to fill it up. You know, to me, that was a goal.
You can't grow. You can't do what God has really called you to do. And I'd heard his vision, and I said, "You can't do that in this space." I suggested to him, it's time to go to multiple campuses.
And I said, "You mean like where the preacher is on the screen?" Because I heard about that, different churches where the pastor goes out on the screen. He said, "Exactly." Well, that wouldn't work for us. That wouldn't work for me. People wouldn't come to hear me preach on a screen. That's not my gift. I can't do that.
Pastor Steven looked at me and said, "Well, I just want to make sure we don't get out ahead of God."
And he goes, "Well, I'll tell you what. If you get ahead of God, he'll shut the door and slow you down. If you get behind God,
he'll just find someone else to do his work." And it was like a light bulb went off in his head that said, I don't want to see that happen.
I was never lacking confidence for what God could do. It was, could he do it through me?
I remember very well. His comment was, "Nobody's going to want to watch me on a screen." And I said, "Yes, there's some guys that can't do it. There's some that can." But God had given him that.
I pulled everybody in a conference room at Lake Park, and calling that a conference room is pretty funny. A room with a table at Lake Park, a long table. And I laid it out, what we had the opportunity to do, and asked them, do we want to do it?
The idea of it was so foreign to us.
Multi-set kind of struck me as like, I really don't even know what it is you're talking about.
We're all talking about doing something that we have no idea how to do.
I think it was just such an unknown. I think for me, it was like I couldn't even picture it because we'd never done it before.
We felt called to reach as many people as possible. God called us to start a big church in a big city.
Yeah, for us, this wasn't just a strategy. It came down to the place, we got to keep reaching people. We were out of seats. We had to keep reaching people.
And we were convinced when we sat around and talked about it that we had to try multi-site. We might fail, but we had to give it a shot.
We were not prepared at all to start a second location. And we were basically starting from scratch, trying to figure out even what technology we would need to do something like that.
The craziness was the timeline, because it became evident really quick, like almost anything out there, you want to hit major, seasons or holidays or whatever. And so Easter was like right on top of us. So it only made sense to get it done for Easter.
We had to basically buy everything it takes to launch a new church and do it in 30 days.
I feel like it was just a scramble, like, okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna figure out how to make it work.
It was just a mad dash.
We quickly realized we're maybe in over our heads on this one.
Everything leading up to opening week is like, we spent so much time, energy, effort, resources into learning the technology to make it happen. So I remember that first weekend we recorded the sermon.
We can't screw this up. He's pre-recording the message. All we have to do is press play to make it work for Easter Sunday.
Everything got rolling, and then we had practiced this stuff with tapes.
Tyler screwed it up, and I don't remember what happened.
Well, we queued up the tape. I queued up the tape. When we recorded the sermon, Pastor had come out after the bumper, started his message, and then he didn't like it.
We're glad that you're here. This morning I want to call your... Guys, let's roll it one more time. I'm sorry.
Then he came out again, started his message, we recorded the entire thing. When we played it back at Porter Ridge, I queued it up to that first take.
I was just thrown off for a minute. Just messed with me. I didn't have any lighting cue or anything. I'm ready now. You got some water?
So the entire auditorium saw that.
And so, okay, we get through first week. Cool. We fixed what we thought were the problems. We corrected what we thought was wrong, and we're gonna have a great second week until the second week actually happened.
Second weekend, we go down again.
Here we are, all we need to do is press play.
Somehow, some way, we still screwed it up.
And then I have to be the guy that walks in and tell Pastor Steven, say, Pastor Steven, I just wanna let you know that everything was really good at Porter Ridge, except the video didn't work.
And I picked up the nearest thing that I could find, which was a music stand.
And so there may not have been a music stand flying across the room. But even the mistakes we bring to the table, God uses all of that.
We screwed it up the first 2 weeks. We didn't think it would work.
But we kept plugging away week after week. We kept showing up. We kept doing it. We kept bringing our best. And slowly, things started to change.
And despite all the early challenges, we saw people giving their life to Christ. We saw people coming to church. We saw people going to watch the preacher on a screen.
To see 20 or 30 or 50 hands shoot up for the very first time, responding to a screen, it was kind of like, yeah, this is gonna work.
It was just this feeling of like so much excitement of the vision of like long-term what this could be, because it's working.
And now it's the strategy that is Elevation Church, with over 75% of the people that watch the weekly sermon in church are watching it on screens.
We've never been afraid from day one because of the way Pastor Steven has led us to try new things.
Because those things we developed in that season really shaped how we do ministry today.
I never in my life imagined that more people would watch me on a screen than are sitting watching me live. Never saw it.
To see over the years now how things expand and how they continue to is, Porter Ridge kind of laid the groundwork for that.
Porter Ridge turned into Butler, which then turned into Matthews. Then we opened Uptown, then Blakeney, and we just kept growing.
Our brand new University and Rock Hill locations. Elevation Gaston, our newest location, our Lake Norman location. Concord, GTA, Weddington, Raleigh, Durham, and Roanoke.
Is in that high school auditorium in the middle of nowhere. We decided to take a risk, do whatever it takes to reach people far from God.